This podcast is sponsored by the Tollington Arms on Hornsey Road, a bubbly pub with a Thai kitchen home to thousands of Arsenal fans every season. Open daily from noon.
Hello everyone and welcome back to the Gooner Ramble. This is Rick along with regular Akhil. How you doing, Akhil?
Yeah, very well. Had a good trip to Bournemouth today and made it back fairly early actually and generally in one piece for an away day. So and we got the point. So yes. All in all, a very good day.
Oh, very good, very good. You're still waiting for that nice summer day though when you can go down there, huh?
Oh, I am. As I was telling you kind of when we weren't recording, that Bournemouth away. So Bournemouth, for those who maybe don't know, it's a beach town. So it's a sandy beach. It's one of those places where it's great in the summer. And we've had, ironically, we've had the best summer we've ever had on record, since we've had that phase since records began. And I mean, when records began, I got no idea. But it's been our best summer of sustained heat and dry weather. And Bournemouth would have been great slightly early on in the season. But we never get it. We get it in like January or February or November, December. And it's just, we just want it. We just want it. And Brighton's another one. That's a lovely place as well. It's a beach town. And when do we go there? Bloody Boxing Day, 26th of December, when it's going to be absolutely freezing again. It's just, we can't win.
Can't catch a break. All right, well, we have a special guest here who's always in the warm weather. Out in L.A., it's Sophie. How are you doing?
Hey, Rick and Dax. How you doing? I'm doing great. Thanks for having me back.
Good. Not a problem. Good stuff.
It's been a while. It's been too long.
Yes. Yeah. Well, your ladies have been busy, so we'll take you when we can get you.
a little bit.
Very good. Well, anyway, we are speaking after the away victory against Bournemouth, 2-1. Not terribly convincing, but I think the talk during the game and especially after the game, once we heard the comments, were about the absence of Ozil in the lineup. So, Akhil, you were there. I guess you knew before the game started, but what was the reaction in the stadium with the away fans?
To be honest, it wasn't really talked about much, if I'm honest. It's obviously a story, but it has happened before. Mesut Ozil has missed games. I mean, I guess the difference here was he was there in Bournemouth and was on the bench. It wasn't one of those where he's been left out totally or he's been kind of, sick, which we've heard a lot of in the last 18 months. He was there. I think he might have warmed up first half, but I don't think he even warmed up in the second.
I did not see that. Yeah.
I think Emery was asked about that, and he just said that we kind of went another way. We went another plan. So it was, slightly strange that he didn't even warm up. But yeah, it wasn't much. It was we obviously went 3 at the back, which we're going to talk about, but you had to leave one offensive player out, and maybe I think Alex Iwobi's having a good season. He gives you something a little bit more on the ball and in terms of work rate. So it kind of fell to Ozil or Mkhitaryan, and maybe Unai Emery just felt Mkhitaryan would give a little bit more work, do a little bit more work for the team, and I think Unai Emery paid some respect to Bournemouth actually, and that they're having a very, very good season. They haven't lost many at home. I mean, Man United's the only one I can think of, and that was a last minute winner when they were 1-0 up as well. So I think there was respect shown to Bournemouth, and someone had to miss out, and it was Mesut Ozil today.
Yeah, well, we were a little surprised over here in the States in our pub that he wasn't there. Sophie, did you get up early and watch this game live? What did you think of Ozil's absence?
I did. I was up at the crack of dawn at 4:30 a.m. This morning. Yeah, all for the love of the Arsenal. We'll never miss a game, no matter who we're playing. It was a surprise, but I saw it a little bit differently in that, I think people are maybe looking at it negatively, whereas I'm trying to look at it positively because I don't want to assume or think that there's a problem between Ozil and Emery. There have been rumblings and we've seen some examples of that. And I think that finally, for me, we have a manager who's willing to discipline players no matter, their background. I don't think we've seen that since George Graham, actually. Wenger was very much a player's manager, and he used to he let players get away with a lot. He punished them in his own way. But at the same time, I think that he always stuck with his favorites. And Emery's trying to show people that you got to fight, you got to work hard to be in the team. And I looked at it as maybe he was saving Ozil for Tottenham, for Man United and what's to come. Maybe he thought we could cope with what Bournemouth have to offer, as good as they've been. They have lost their last two. But with that said, I also think we need to look at this long term. Someone is going to be sacrificed always. If Emery's going to insist on playing this formation, which, by the way, I think he should reconsider for the North London derby, but we can get to that. Someone's going to miss out. And I don't know what you think, and Rick, but who's going to be that player that consistently misses out? Because it was easier for him this week because Laka had a little bit of a groin strain and he made the decision to play Ozil over Iwobi. Ramsey is an easier decision for him these days. So at some point, someone's not going to be happy. And I hope that doesn't create unhappiness within the team. And I also want him to be adaptable to the players that he has, not just the formation he wants to play, which he was when he was managing in Spain.
Yeah, and just to come in on that, I mean, Sophie kind of, I woke up when she mentioned my name there. But, I mean, the whole season kind of Unai Emery has rotated the squad and a little bit different to Arsene Wenger. Whereas Unai Emery in the Europa League and even to a certain extent in the League Cup, he has still put out a decent side. And the rotation has sometimes happened in the Premier League as well. I mean, I remember when we went to Fulham 4 to 6 weeks ago and Danny Welbeck started. Aubameyang was on the bench. He was on the bench against Leicester as well at home. And you just thought that there is a bit of a rotation here. And in the League Cup, for example, we've seen Aubameyang come on in the League Cup and been on the bench. I think we saw Lacazette in the first round as well. And in the Europa, it's been quite similar. So there's been a big rotation here. I mean, it's funny that Arsene Wenger always used to say that he'll put out a team that's good enough to win. But I actually think Unai Emery actually is putting out a team that is good enough to win. I think sometimes under Arsene, in some of the games, Europa League, away from home, we looked a little bit soft, a little bit weak, and our bench was a little bit weak. But I think genuinely Unai Emery is trying to win every single game. So he's using his squad. So I don't think there was any big thing with Ozil not playing today. I think one of the reasons is I think Kolasinac, he's always been a wing back for me and not a full back. And when he's playing in a 4, I think he's just, I don't know if it's positionally or I'm just not sure I'm not sure we're that comfortable there. And I'm not sure that, it works for us as such. And he, he had a very good game against Liverpool, so he's definitely capable. But I think away from home, Unai Emery just wanted that little bit of insurance, with playing 3 at the back. So I think someone had to miss out. And again, as I said, it was ultimately just who's going to work a little bit harder for the team because we might be a bit under the cosh. I think Unai Emery knows as well, like Sophie pointed out, that we have Tottenham, we then have Man United. So really, we needed those 3 points today. We absolutely needed those 3 points. And I think he would have been happy winning it 1-0, than having a 4-3 defeat. I know he said at the start of the season that he wants 4-3s and stuff like that because he wants football. But after drawing 3 in a row in the league, I think with the next 2 after today, it was important just to win. And I think his team kind of showed me that he's happy just to nick it 1-0. And in the end, he did nick it 2-1. I mean, 1 was an own goal. So it worked. But I've no doubt that we'll see Mesut Ozil back in probably against Spurs next week, being, with that game being at home.
Yeah, I think the surprise wasn't necessarily that Ozil was left out. I think it was more the comments made from Emery about why he was left out. And I think that speaks well that he's willing to leave people out if he doesn't see fit to play them. I know Arsene would leave Ozil out of the lineup as well, but he would never really directly say why. He always, I guess, like you said, Sophie, protected the players more so than Emery does. And maybe that's a good thing.
I mean, Ozil was left out, and he was left out altogether because he was sick. So, whatever that means. But
right.
In this case, he was there. We all know he was fit. He was on that bench. We could see him there. So there wasn't we knew he was fit. He just wasn't picked today. But then, as I said, I think there'll be games when, Aubameyang isn't there, Lacazette isn't there. I think literally the only ones that we will see most weeks are Bellerin, probably Xhaka and Torreira. And even in the centre back, he can rotate a little bit as well. So I think literally they're the only 3 at the moment. Maybe Lacazette when he's back in are the only 3/4 that we'll see every week. I think the rest will be rotated.
Well, hopefully that will change with the centre-backs in January.
Yeah,
because we could definitely use some reinforcements in that area.
Yeah, go ahead about, we were going to talk about playing three in the back and the change in formation, and I know, Sophie, you seem to have an opinion that maybe shouldn't try that all the time, but how do you think it went today?
I think in the first 15 minutes we were completely exposed, maybe even in the first 20 minutes. We couldn't adapt. I don't think we were. This is the only game I've questioned so far in terms of how much Emery was prepared for it, in terms of the opponent. And maybe during the interlull, he focused a lot on the Spurs game as well. But I just felt like sometimes the defence weren't prepared enough for the pace of Bournemouth when they broke and went forward. And that was much more evident when they were on the counter-attack. I felt like we were super exposed on the flanks. Now, we got away with it for a little bit, but against a superior team, we could have been really punished for it. And I think that was the difference. But we did adapt, and I will say, and I will credit the team that, you know, towards the end of the middle of the first half and then the second half, we completely adapted. We showed our quality, which really shone through in the end. The difference in this game was more quality than organisation and tactics, I think. But I just think that sometimes Emery doesn't have the players that he really needs to play his system. And that's much more evident at the back than in midfield and going forward. I don't know if you guys think I'm being too harsh, but I just don't feel, you know, Antonio Conte experienced that a little bit early in his Chelsea career. And it was our beating of them 3-0 that made him completely adapt to the philosophy and the tactics that he knew that worked for him at Juve and when he was manager of the Italian team as well. But he had the right players to do that. And I just don't feel like we've got world-class quality at the back. I love Rob Holding and how he's maturing. I'm a huge fan, as Akhil will know. I just think Mustafi's a liability. I think that sometimes he's okay. I think Sokratis, as much as I want to love him because he's Greek, he's so slow. He's a snail. He's going to get caught out at the back. Positionally, he's smart, but he's also a bit of a hothead as well. And so these things really concern me when we're going to be playing against bigger teams as the season goes on. And I'm sure Emery needs time and at least a couple of transfer windows to fix that so he has the right place to execute his tactics.
And Akhil?
You know what? It's the back. I'm still not sure what Emery thinks about every player, if that makes sense. It's kind of, usually you can get a feel that what does a manager think of his kind of centre backs, but really I'm not really convinced. I mean, you know, it seems like he's keen on Mustafi. I mean, you know, I know he divides fans' opinions, and I think there's always a mistake in him. I mean, today generally he actually played quite well, and I guess this season he's had more good games than he has bad games, but he's still got that just error in him. And, you know, I think about the Crystal Palace penalty, or there was that game where he just slipped in the middle and I don't think they scored, but, you know, there's always a mistake in him. I think Sokratis started the season and, you know, I thought he got better actually as games went on. I thought he did get better. And then he got that slight injury and then hasn't really come back. He seems to have only come back because he's kind of, you know, because we played three at the back kind of thing and because Monreal's out, I think we wanted that extra protection. So, and then Rob Holding's come in and Rob Holding's played 6 or 7 in a row, which is probably his most sustained period in this team. And then there was rumours about Laurent Koscielny, you know, being available on loan in January and potentially not a part of Unai Emery's plans. But from what I'm hearing, that's a little bit different now as well. I mean, Laurent Koscielny was there today at Bournemouth. He did some training work at the end of the game on the pitch where he was doing a little bit of running, and I think he will be playing in the under-23 game, which is on Monday. So tomorrow as we record, maybe today as you listen. But I think he's playing, I think it's in Derby. So there again, he's starting to make his comeback. And just the fact that he was there today showed me that Emery's trying to just integrate him back into the team a little bit. is trying to, use his experience. And that to me shows that he wants him a part of this team.
But we can't rely on him, can we?
We can't rely on him.
He's broken. He's a broken player.
Yeah, potentially. But in part, in that whole squad rotation that Emery's doing, I think, he may look after Koscielny a little bit, but Koscielny can still be a quite a useful player. And then that makes me think, actually, if Koscielny is going to play, whenever he plays, I think he's more suited to a 3 now because of the reason Sophie's just said, around that kind of, long-term injury, age creeping up on him, slightly broken. I think in a 2, it would be fairly risky, but in a 3 potentially could work. So, there's a lot of question marks there. I'm not sure. Does he want a 2? Does he want a 3? Does he trust Kolasinac in a 4? What's Socrates? Or is he just there because we went for a 3? Is Koscielny got a part to play? Mavropanos, wherever he is he going to, he played a bit last season. Is he going to come back in? I'm quite confused, about kind of where we're going to play everyone. And yeah, I mean, that's kind of where I am. I can't work it out. Usually I'm this kind of bit of a know-it-all, and I think I can always guess what the manager thinks. But here, I just can't.
Yeah, it's obvious I don't think he wants to play 3 at the back. Otherwise, we would have seen it long before now. I think maybe it's more of a personnel decision, and a lot of it's maybe not trusting Kolasinac as a left back. Yeah,
and
you can't. Kolasinac not good enough. I mean, he did good today. He did okay.
Yeah.
I mean, he was, a positive in some regards, but also a liability at some points, and against better teams, you get punished. You got to think about who we're playing against now. You got to think about how other teams around us have elevated their personnel. You've got to, and Emery's thinking about all these things, and maybe in a way, it's a good way that you're confused because he doesn't know yet. It's only been since August, right? He's only been there a super short period of time, and he's trying to assess his talent. Does he know he has potential world class? Yes, absolutely. In Aubameyang hasn't hit his Borussia Dortmund heights yet. He's still to get the best out of him. He's got a lot of coaching to do. Lacazette is a player that I'm happily seeing who's improved on confidence. Even Jack has improved under him, but also playing with Torreira, I think, has elevated, him.
Absolutely.
100%. He's a different player, right? I mean, and you talk about game-changing signings. Torreira has to be the signing of the summer so far.
He's a dream.
He's the player we've dreamed of for how long, right?
Yeah.
So for Emery, I feel like he's half there. He's probably identified players that he's going to want to have in his squad. I think that he and the backroom staff work really well together. We've seen that backroom staff really talk just, differently. The way they've done business, it's just different. So I think for the first time in a long time, I'm patient and I trust where we're going.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. So
on Torreira, I mean, I said it today to someone when I was watching him. It's just the boy's a dream. He to me has got a bit of everything. We've had players in there that have been okay at some things, but really rubbish at others. Mm-hmm. For me, Torreira's got a bit of everyone. So he's got a bit of Gilberto in terms of his positional plays. Bloody awesome. He's even got a little bit of Flamini, the old Flamini, the first kind of Flamini.
First Flamini,
the first Flamini, when he could, intercept, he could tackle, he could press people. So he had that. But what he did have is he's also got a bit of Santi Cazorla in terms of maybe not that 2-foot in trickery, but he can control the ball, he can play the ball out, he can pass. He's very calm, with players like Flamini and even someone like Coquelin who did that other side of the game really well. But you think back to goal, getting the ball from the keeper or the centre backs, you just worried about Flamini and Coquelin. Whereas Santi Cazorla, you didn't. Lucas Torreira, you don't either. You just feel so secure, and I don't know. There's something, and I think the Xhaka thing. It's amazing to me because I've always been in two minds about Granit Xhaka. That is he this good player or is he not? I can't tell. He makes a lot of mistakes. He gives the ball away a lot. But then when I've kind of dug a little bit deeper into our best kind of attacks, our goals, our team goals, Xhaka's been at the heart of a lot of them. So it's just, and he was the only one, I think, to play in every single Premier League game last season. He's done the same, I think, this season. So it wasn't just Arsene Wenger that likes him. It was also Unai Emery likes him as well. And, it's just, there's something about him. He just looks different alongside Torreira. And there's been signs that partnership is really blossoming. That partnership, I'm not saying it can be a Petit or Vieira or a Gilberto or Vieira, but it just seems to me that it's one that could really be effective. They're both at the right age as well. So you just think, keep them together, build around them, and suddenly them two can be kind of the heart of our team.
When Xhaka first arrived, because I'd watched him play for his previous team because of another show I was doing where I had to watch a lot of European football. And I was like, wow, this guy's a gem. People are going to be so blown away by the talent of this guy. Because to me, I felt he could be our Alonso, like Liverpool, Liverpool's Alonso. And because he does have this deadly sweeping left foot, and we've seen it. And he's the guy that, people talk about Laka, Ozil and Aubameyang being able to change a game on a whim. Xhaka's shot can change a game on a whim. And I've given him a really hard time, but he deserved it because he was making so many bad decisions, but bad mental decisions. And I think the other thing that is really cool about Emery and his man management, which I think is a huge difference now in our squad. And Pep does this, Klopp does this. He puts his arm around players and he's like, I believe in you. I believe in you, Granit. I believe in your talent. And he's made him captain. And Xhaka's responded to not only playing with someone like Torreira, who exposes all of his strengths, but he's also really matured and taken on the captain's armband, I think, with a lot of authenticity and honesty. And I've been really impressed with him over the last month. And so I think that sometimes us Arsenal fans, because things have been so bad and we haven't given up the rearview mirror yet with Xhaka, we still remember a lot of the bad. And I think this season he's been more good than bad. And I think it's time to be a little bit fair to him and give him a chance.
Yeah, the reason I chuckled on when you said Alonso, because when I first saw Xhaka play for Arsenal, that's who I saw. If I squinted my eyes, I thought I saw Xabi Alonso.
Yep.
And then of course I saw him put in a tackle, and I thought, oh my God, he's Paul Scholes.
Not a bad combo.
Yeah.
I think I think there's a slightly wider issue a little bit as well with Arsenal fans, certainly match-going fans, that these opinions, once they form, people they don't seem to want to change their mind. And I'll give you another example today. In the second half, well, to be honest, in the first as well, but in the second half, there was these guys in front of me who kept just saying, don't give it to Iwobi, don't give it to Iwobi, just, implying he's going to give it away and stuff. First half, he was average. I don't think he was in the game much. I thought Mkhitaryan was far worse, constantly gave it away. Iwobi wasn't in the game. The second half, I thought actually Iwobi was our only threat. And I was thinking, if Mesut Ozil doesn't come on here, Iwobi, because Mkhitaryan wasn't creating, Torreira was probably our second closest threat, which kind of tells you all you need to know, really. That it was actually Iwobi was the one. And he got the ball. He was on the left-hand side often. He was right in front of us. And, you just felt that he's going to make something happen. And he gave it away a couple of times, but he tried things. Even in the goal they scored, Josh King's goal, it was because he was trying a little bit of a turn in their area. And to be honest, an offensive player trying something in the opposition box, I'm okay with that. I'm really okay with that.
That's where you do it.
You don't expect them to go and score on the other end. Doing it in your own box, no. But doing it in the opposition box, what's wrong with that? But here again, that goal for me was Iwobi's goal, the Aubameyang goal. It was Iwobi's ball that just
got a beautiful pass.
He got Kolasinac in, and he broke Bournemouth. He broke their back line. And so for me, it's that whole, pre-thoughts about Iwobi from last season before. And people haven't realised that he's developed a lot this season. Sometimes a new manager with new ideas, and also you personally, we all work. And if we all have a new manager, sometimes you just try that a little bit harder because you think I've got either a fresh start or the manager doesn't know me. He could ship me out any time. I need to prove to him that I'm a good player. So I think that's really helped Iwobi. I think it's helped Bellerin as well. And, you know, they look like different players. I just think with Xhaka's another example that we just need to remember that, you know, he's playing in a new system, a new partner, and he's not actually doing that bad. You know, you're not noticing him as much. Last week against Wolves was probably the first time where you thought, his error led to a goal. So, you know, I think there's so much good stuff going on with individual players. I just think that sometimes you will get errors. You will still, you know, you will get a Mustafi slip or something like that. But at the moment, while we haven't got anyone to kind of play in ahead of him, I think we just need to back our players. And then generally people are doing that, but, you know.
Yeah, I'm still backing Xhaka, even though I don't feel like he's the answer we need long term.
Maybe. I mean, time will tell.
I think he needs to increase his awareness. I think a lot of his errors come from just a lack of awareness. But
maybe.
Get that head on a swivel, I think he'll be a fine player. Mustafi still frightens me to death.
He totally frightens me as well. But I mean, today, today, with Koscielny still out, with Socrates and Holding still, you're not totally 100% convinced they're, you know, Holding's ready, and you're not sure about Socrates. That Mustafi's actually quite important in the squad right now. But come January or come next summer, that could all change, obviously. So yeah, we'll see. But I just mean today, tomorrow, the next day.
Yeah. Just quickly going through the game, our first goal, well, wasn't really our goal, but that was quite a spectacular shot for the own goal. Were you able to see in the stadium how good that really was?
Not really. We knew it was an own goal, and it looked like he was quite far away, so he has actually bulleted that in the net. But yeah, I couldn't see the technique. It was a great technique, you know.
It was.
It was brilliant. Nice finish.
Yeah, it was. It was lucky. That really comes under the lucky category. That goal, it fell into our lap, and it was wonderful. I took it at the time because I was worried.
And we were a little fortunate to get that offsides call earlier than that too.
Yeah, I mean, yes.
You've seen those go either way, right?
Yeah, well, and in the moment, I think it was tough for the linesman. It was a really tight call, but yeah, I mean, we were fortunate, and I'll take it because that's part of football. You know, kind of getting the rub of the green a little bit, and that really wasn't the case for us over the last few seasons. So, you know, part of our evolution is also being able to kind of have muscle. And this is why I think what Axe was saying earlier about Ozil and stuff like that. I think in this game away to Bournemouth on a, you know, tough Sunday afternoon, you needed a little bit of muscle, I think, in the team. And so I like how Emery adapts to different things. So I don't know. I'm actually optimistic about the North London derby. Call me crazy, but I feel like the stars aligned for us perfectly after this weekend, especially with Tottenham having the kind of game they did against Chelsea. It's brilliant for us. Let them be cocky. Let them have that euphoric post-Real Madrid feeling. I don't think they handle cocky and thrashing and euphoric in a really good way yet. I don't think Pochettino's found a way to manage that particular process. And so I think we're meeting them at the perfect time. Call me crazy, but I really believe that.
And Akhil, do you think it's a perfect time to play Tottenham?
Yeah, I don't think it's crazy at all. So I think it's, you know, it's a couple of weeks ago we played Liverpool and you know, Liverpool are flying, haven't lost all season, and we totally matched them. We probably, I mean, generally it could have gone either way. They probably had the better chances, but in terms of control of the game, I thought we were absolutely outstanding. So, no, I look at that as it just seems like Tottenham's a game where we're always up for, and I know we haven't started games well, but generally in the last few seasons when we have actually played well, it's been against the big teams at home. You know, we've started well against Liverpool last week. We were 2-0 up against Spurs last season. We had that Man United game where we were 3-0 up, Chelsea 3-0. We know how to start games well at home. You know, there seems to be I don't know if it's a motivational thing, and I don't know why we don't start them like that every week, whether it was under Arsene or whether it is under Unai. We just don't seem to do it. But in those big games. You know, I mean, last season I was absolutely bricking it when we played Spurs because we weren't playing very well, and it was all a little bit. You know, that's when I was worried, but we pulled it off. You know, in that case it was Mustafi and Sanchez that scored, and you know, I have no doubt that can happen again. There's players in there that know what a derby feels like. You know, a lot of them have played in them before. I think a player like Lucas Torreira is just gonna love a derby. He'll feel the first tackle probably from Dembele or whoever it is, and he'll be like, I love this, because he'll get stuck in. And you know, I just think that there's a lot of there's players in that really, I think players like Bellerin, and they understand what it means, and they'll be telling the new guys that, you know, this is the sort of game we can't lose it. It's not worth it. It's not worth losing. So, you know, I'm like you, Sophie. I honestly think as long as we start well and we start confidently, I think it could be a good day.
Yeah, we can't let them get off to the start they did against Chelsea.
Exactly.
Chelsea was 2 down before they were warmed up.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the first 10 minutes, 15 is key. Yeah,
and we got the games coming fast. Actually, we catch Tottenham again in the League Cup in a few weeks too. And then I was joking today with the folks at the pub that we get to play home matches against Tottenham all year.
Yeah, well, exactly, because they don't have one.
Yeah. So Wembley's more our home than it is theirs. That was my point.
Well, we've won more games there probably in our history. We've probably certainly won more trophies there. So Wembley's not their home. I think to be fair, their game against Chelsea was the first time where they probably had in the league, they had a big victory, really.
Yeah.
You know what else, guys, I think is a massive difference is, I think maybe last season, the season before, I would even go far as to say the last 3 seasons, I think we would have lost a game like today. I think that one of the things that Emery and his staff have done very, very well is instill a mental conditioning and a mental strength that these players were lacking in greatly. They were lacking in coaching. And, you know, I love Arsene. I'm not ragging on him, but the truth of the matter is players weren't coached up. They weren't being, you know, man-managed anymore. And mentally, we started believing that if we were a goal or 2 down, that we weren't worthy of coming back. The players' confidence dropped. Their self-esteem died as Arsenal players. And for Emery to come back and actually take us, I don't care who it's against, at the same time, we have to be able to prove to beat the big teams. But to go 17 unbeaten for a team that was completely broken and vilified by the media, the dartboard for opposing fans, for how long? And I don't think Arsenal have been given the credit they deserve because of the opposition that we've played perhaps over the last few weeks.
Yeah.
But still, professional football is hard. It's not easy. And I think that today, I would have thought last season we would have conceded 1, maybe 2 in the last 10 minutes. Whereas I didn't like the fact that we played the way we did in the last 10 minutes, but somehow we found a way to win the game. And that is a huge difference with Arsenal. Winning ugly is beautiful sometimes. And I feel like he needs to be given credit for instilling that in the short period that he's been there.
Yeah, it's nice that the heads no longer drop and they stay in the game. And even though we gave up that literally last second free kick, it felt all much sweeter when it went over the bar.
I agree to a certain extent, and it's obviously all about opinions, and it's all healthy opinions. And I think at times, I think last season was a bit of a niche where just away from home we just seemed to be shot. And actually last season we went to Bournemouth, we were 1 up. We lost the game 2-1. They scored 2 fairly quick goals in the second half. And I think that was quite a recurring theme. I think I remember going to Newcastle. We went 1 up there and then they scored 2. And so it was a bit of a recurring theme last season. But generally, I think there was a lot of times in the last few years where where it looks like heads are going to drop, but we've come back into games. And actually, there's no better example than Bournemouth. We were 3-0 down 2 seasons ago, and we got it back to 3-3. You know, that game against Liverpool last Christmas.
Yeah, but over his period, those games were few and far between. They really were.
Yeah, maybe, but I think there was.
Mentally, we would collapse. We'd go 1-2-0 down, then we'd collapse.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, we had those kind of 6-0s and things like that at Chelsea, but generally, I think, there was a lot of times where we did come back into games. I think what's different is that kind of when we went 1-1 today and kind of going on to score the winner rather than losing the game. I think that's maybe a slight difference. I think there's been games where we've got back into games. Potentially the Liverpool game was another example that we kind of got back into. Where I agree is there's certainly confidence that I think they do feel confident that we won't lose games. And that Liverpool game, I thought it was generally, we scored in the 78th or 80th minute or something like that. But generally, you always felt like we were going to get back into it. So there is something definitely there that's come through, that mentally we feel that we're not out of games. And maybe last year we did a little bit. But I just mean that there were a lot of times as well where I think we've come back as well into games before. So I don't think it's completely a change. But I think, yeah, there's definitely something going on, and we are going in the right direction.
Yeah, and I don't mean to dismiss the midweek match we have, but we have Man United coming up after that, and I think we spend the next 5 weeks with no more than 4 days between games. They're coming thick and fast. What do you think going back-to-back, Tottenham, Man U, what do you think we're going to do there?
I really fancy us against Tottenham. Don't ask me why. Maybe like I said, my theory, if Tottenham had lost against Chelsea, I think I'd be feeling a little bit differently. Their euphoria is always something I kind of enjoy watching because they always have an ebb and a flow as a team. They're good. Don't get me wrong. I'm not going to sit here and be a delusional Arsenal fan. They're a very, very good team. And if they play the same way they did against Chelsea and we play the same way we did against Bournemouth, it's going to be a very long and miserable day for us. But I just feel this team's going to be prepared for that game. We're going to have Ozil and Laka back. I think that Emery has been waiting for a signature moment like this. Mourinho, on the other hand, seems to get the better of us, and that concerns me a little bit. It doesn't matter if we face a good or bad Man United, somehow they always get the better of us. So I'm hoping for a win against Tottenham and a draw against United at best with them, because I just feel like he has our number a little bit, and that could be where we get our first loss over the last 18, 19 games, however many it is.
Was that more Arsenal's Arsenal, do you think?
Okay, so that's a great point, Axe. That's a really good point, because yes, I am basing that on Arsenal's Arsenal because I don't have anything else to go on. So I should probably give Emery the benefit of the doubt. I don't know, and I should know what his record was when was he still in Spain? Well, he was when Mourinho was at Real Madrid, right?
Yeah, it would have been. Yeah.
So I'll have to go back and look at that. But yeah, that's a really good point. I'm basing it on Arsenal's record against Mourinho, which no one really wants to kind of repeat out loud.
And I think personally, I don't think Emery's got the history that Wenger had with Mourinho, so there might be a little let off on Jose's part. Who knows?
Yeah. I mean, I there again, I just think that it's, Unai Emery and Arsene Wenger are very different in terms of Wenger was very much I'll train my players to be the best, and as long as they turn up, we can win the game. Whereas, the players have come out a lot this season and said that, Unai Emery does do a lot on the opposition, and they're a little bit more aware of the opposition and stuff like that. And I'm sure under Arsene Wenger they used to do a bit of it as well. I can't imagine they didn't, but it just seems that Emery's strength is a lot of kind of scouting the opposition and working to their strengths and weaknesses. So I think going to Old Trafford, we might be a little bit different. For once, we may not just think that, okay, if Mesut Ozil has a great game, we'll win the game. It's more about, okay, who's their danger man? Well, it's Martial at the moment. So how do we sniff out Martial? Does that mean we play 3 at the back? So the left back if Monreal isn't fit, can Kolasinac play against Martial all game? Maybe not. So then we might have to, that kind of stuff. And I think that kind of stuff will go through Unai Emery's mind. So I feel strangely confident to go to Old Trafford. I think it's you sort of want to go there right now, especially after I think they're at Southampton. I think they're at Southampton this weekend. They're at Southampton. Yeah, they are. They're at Southampton on a 5:30 kickoff. So the next game at Old Trafford after the Palace draw is against Arsenal. So you would probably say 4 points from the next two would be a good return. Beat Spurs at home and get a draw at Old Trafford. But, aim high, it would be a real statement. And I know we're going to talk next about kind of where we are right now. And this is kind of a good segue into it, but it's a case of, the unbeaten 17 or so. We haven't played the top teams as such, but you can only play who's in front of you. We did play Liverpool and we played really well, but Tottenham and Man United for me represents a massive opportunity. It's a massive opportunity to kind of show that this Arsenal team is serious. Unai Emery's got them playing. The big players know how to turn up to big games. And it's a big opportunity. What comes with that is if you do get 2 positive results, then suddenly the spotlight's on you and people then start to talk about you. Whereas at the moment, we're flirting with 4th maybe, but I don't think anyone seriously believes we're going to get 4th. I think especially after Tottenham winning the other night, I think people are probably discounting Man United for sure and maybe even Arsenal, and winning those 2 games could potentially just open that up a little bit. But generally, it's a massive opportunity and I'm confident. We're seeing us against Liverpool. That has given me so much confidence.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's got a big implications on the table as well. We got points against Tottenham to make up, and we got to keep Man United out of this.
Yeah, exactly. You beat Man United, you knock them out maybe potentially of the race to the top 4. So yeah, it's vital.
Yeah, who knows? Sophie, I know you've got to go soon. So looking forward, do you have any expectations for the season? Anything like Emery likes to win the Europa League, FA Cup, top 4, even second, anything like that?
I actually feel that, okay, so what's the difference between the league and Manchester City and Liverpool right now? Eventually they're going to lose 1 game. They will. I'm hoping so. Dear God, I'm hoping so. I pray every day next to my, yeah, I pray every single day. I don't know why, especially with Liverpool though, they can get a little arrogant, but I have lots of Liverpool fan friends, but I think why not? This was such a huge win today. So in the Premier League, the rest is up for grabs after Manchester City and Liverpool so far. And let's be honest, can Liverpool close? One of my favorite movies, Glengarry Glen Ross, Alec Baldwin, always be closing. Can Liverpool close? And they haven't proven that yet at all. Klopp has won nothing, yet they're being lauded. And right now they are, because there's no other narrative up the top, and it's interesting for the media to kind of pit City and Liverpool against each other, and they are the 2 top teams. But I think that we still have a say in this, and November is not a great month for us generally, and we grinded out another win today, which was really important. I think in Europa League, Emery's got that magic sauce. Why not win that? FA Cup will always be there. So I do believe that we have a chance of winning something. I don't think we're going to win the Premier League, but I think winning for us in the Premier League is going to be get back in the Champions League. And if we can do that at the expense of, the nemesis, great. But I don't even care about that right now. All I care about is that we get back to Champions League football, because that elevates the club in different ways. It attracts different players to the club. It just is something that I think is part of our DNA, and to not have been in it, we don't want to become Man United or Liverpool in their wilderness days. It's not pleasant, and it does start to grate on fans. And I just hope Emery has the opportunity to bring back Champions League football. I will sacrifice winning a cup just to get back into the Champions League, because I believe that is his number 1 goal, and that's the goal that he was given by the people who hired him.
Yeah, Akhil, how much silverware or lack thereof are we gonna be looking at the end of the season?
Yeah, exactly the same as Soph. 100% spot on. Couldn't agree more. Don't care about silverware, if I'm honest. Yeah, a cup. I mean, a day out at Wembley. Who's going to turn that down? I love it. And it's you can have a bit of a jolly for the weekend. It's great. But generally, it's not that important. The League Cup and the FA Cup. Yeah, great. Well, I mean, I want to beat Spurs, by the way, in that quarter final. But then, if we can win it, absolutely great. For me, Champions League football, it's what we want. I mean, it's funny that we got ridiculed for going for fourth for so many years, but and now we're desperate for it. But the reason why I'm desperate for it is I believe that to give Unai Emery a fair go at Arsenal Football Club, he needs Champions League football. And what I mean is by that is, everyone's saying he needs 3 or 4 transfer windows to get his own players in, maybe get rid of a few, etc. Yeah. But with the lure of Champions League football, he can really go for it a little bit. Whereas without it, he might have it. So it's like having one hand tied behind your back. Players don't.
It's tougher to rebuild if you don't have that money and you don't have that stature.
Exactly. I mean, players in the summer when we talk to them, they're not going to ask, "Did you win the FA Cup?" They're going to ask, "Are you in the Champions League next season?" That is a bit of an Arsene Wenger line, but it's totally true, and that's what's going to happen to Unai Emery. So 4th place for me would be great. I think we're competing with probably Tottenham direct, unless maybe Chelsea as well. I think Man City and Liverpool are going to be 1 and 2. You expect that to happen. So 3rd and 4th. Europa League, maybe. It'll be interesting to see who drops down. There could be some really big teams coming down from the Champions League. So that could be quite tough. Winnable, but very tough. But I think let's just do it. Let's do it in the league. Let's get back to that top 4 in the league. And let's now give Unai Emery the platform to kind of, do his own thing and make his mark on English football and at Arsenal.
Yeah, I agree as well. And for the exact reasons you gave, we need that to help Emery. If he wants to get the players in that he really wants, that's going to be one of the keys to doing that, is getting back in that top 4 and getting us into that Champions League competition. So anyway, we want to get moving on here. We've ran out of time. Sophie, thank you so much for joining us. We hope to see you again soon.
Thanks for having me. Love you guys. And, thank you so much. And Ax, I know you lost your grandma. I haven't even had a chance to speak to you since, but I know it's not been an easy time for you and your family. So my condolences to you, and lots of love. And I love the Gooner Ramble family. So appreciate being back on.
Yeah, and we also know your news over the weekend. So you kind of lost your dog, and I know how it was a massive part of your life. So from us as well, our condolences.
Yes.
Thank you so much. You guys rock. Appreciate it. You too. And Rick, again, top man for hosting. What a man. Top guy. Top geezer. I'm going to ring the bell for you.
Complete
amateur. Rick's that player who's just growing. He is just growing he's a Lacazette, man. When you're not here, we miss you.
Amazing.
All right. Well, thanks again, Akhil, for being on as well.
No worries.
It's down to the 2 of us, so we're always looking for a guest.
Just the 2 of us, mate.
That's right.
That's all we need.
Get Kevin Campbell on. I get Kevin Campbell on for you. That bugger needs to come on and talk with you guys.
We'll do that. We'll do that.
Yeah.
We'll do that.
Excellent.
We're going to hold that against you now if you don't do it.
I will.
All right. Well, thanks everyone for joining us, and we'll see you next time.
Up the Arsenal.
This podcast is sponsored by the Tollington Arms on Hornsey Road, a bubbly pub with a Thai kitchen, home to thousands of Arsenal fans every season. Open daily from noon.